So America's getting skinny now, and we all know why, right? Ozempic, readily available, getting prescribed to anybody who wants it. Yeah.
Weight loss drugs are bringing down the country's obesity rate, a study shows. I saw this headline and I lost my mind. I make a lot of videos about obesity on this channel because I spent 90% of my life obese. Here is me.
Is that true?
I think I'm 10 in this picture.
Damn, wait, I didn't know about this. So I've seen a lot of this girl's videos. I didn't know she was ever obese, huh?
And
I thought she was just a fat phobic person like the rest of us.
Already obese. My family struggles with obesity. As a kid, one of my aunts was literally the largest person I had ever seen with my eyes. My partner struggled with obesity his entire life, and my grandma was actually obese before the obesity epidemic. So I am very interested in this topic.
Right.
So I saw this headline and I lost my mind, because if this is true, this is actually the first time like ever that anything like this has happened. America is getting skinny, guys. The obesity rate has gone down. And what's crazy—
You know what's crazy? I never thought that the cure to obesity would just be more laziness. Like, we didn't get more active, or, you know, we didn't get more productive, or we haven't combated really the behaviors and habits that cause the obesity. We just were like, yeah, let's just make a medication we can inject to fix the problem. That's so tough.
about this is typically—
That's the most American thing ever. The laziness makes you obese because you're not getting up and working out. And the laziness, we were so fucking lazy. We were so unwilling to work out. We're like, dude, I would do anything other than run. Okay, put a needle in myself with a thing. You know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
obesity rates go up. They do not go down. Countries all around the world have been becoming
This is good news for Dave Blunts, though.
increasingly obese for decades now. The obesity—
Another thing I thought about too is now that anybody can become skinny from this weight loss drug, basically you're gonna see the death of fat activism, because all the fat activists really were just people who didn't want to work out or didn't want to stop eating, you know, or they certainly didn't want to do it so much that they would rather go on this entire campaign of normalizing obesity rather than, you know, change what they're eating or change their workout habits. So now that they can keep all those things the same and just take a shot, dude, this shit's dead. Like, because now what's your excuse? Like, you can still be lazy and have these shots and lose weight, and you're gonna now still say fat's beautiful? Yeah, I'm sure, dude. Before we dive back in, here's something you can actually do when you're bored. Play games and get paid for it. If you click the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen, you can sign up for freecash.com right now and start earning. It's simple. You create an account with your email and password. It takes seconds. Inside, you'll see a wall of games and offers. Pick one you actually enjoy, play through the levels, and the cash lands straight into your free cash account. It's like turning your downtime into a side hustle without even noticing. Some people pull in 10 to 20 bucks a day, but if you put in the effort, you can earn a hell of a lot higher. If you spend a couple dollars in game, you can hit the levels faster, which lets you unlock the bigger offers and payouts. That's how some users end up earning hundreds or even $500 or more on certain offers. But you don't have to spend anything. You can stick to the free offers and still cash out. The whole point is that instead of just sitting there and scrolling, you're making money and playing at the same time. When it's time to cash out, you got options. You got PayPal and gift cards. So if you're curious, hit the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen. Sign up for free. Start playing for cash in your spare time. And when you use my link or QR code, you'll also get a bonus $5 to kick things off.
rates literally always go up and they never really go down. We have been on a mad dash toward global obesity for like 50 years at this point. So let's take a look. The number of people using injectable obesity treatments is increasing rapidly, and it is leading to declines in obesity.
Yeah,
according
it works.
to a new survey by the
works.
Gallup National Health and Wellbeing Index. The obesity rate dropped to 37% of US adults this year, down from a high of 39.9% 3 years ago, according to the survey. This is huge, if true. I honestly can't even really believe it, but you really got to give credit where credit is due. I was skeptical at first. I'm not a big pharma lover typically, and they have been making crazy bank on these drugs. Crazy bank. Novo Nordisk, the OG makers of Ozempic, now make more than the entire economy of Denmark. So
What? Market value of 570 billion, bigger than the entire Danish economy. Yo. The problem is that this is kind of the drug that the more you use it, the less customers it has. Because let's say you eventually become skinny, it's like then you stop using it, right? Like obviously, yeah, then maybe you get fat again, but then you just hop on it again. The whole point is that you're not on it forever. Kind of interesting.
OG makers of Ozempic now make more than the entire economy of Denmark.
That's just a
when
mindfuck.
I hear that, I become very distrustful. There's also been a ton of extremely sketchy lobbying by both Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly behind the scenes that maybe we'll talk about some other time. But yeah, there's a major campaign there that really highlights all the reasons that I hate Big Pharma. However, I am pro-science, and I got to put my feelings aside because this actually seems to be changing the world. It's been several years now. People don't seem to be dropping dead from what I can tell. There are many side effects, some of them extremely mild, some of them worse than that. But overall, it seems like it might be a good thing.
Yeah, the overall thing I've noticed from Ozempic in terms of side effects is just like fatigue and nausea. And those are both things that after you are on the drug for like a week or two, then they sort of subside, they go away. Let's be honest here. Would you rather endure some, slightly annoying or uncomfortable side effects in the short term if in the long term you've completely erased obesity from your life? That's obviously something you would do. Now, the long-term side effects I don't know about, and I don't know if they've been researched or what we'll see. And obviously, when we see them, if we do, my opinion will change accordingly. But as of right now, if you're telling me you get a little fatigued, a little nauseous for 2 weeks, but you do lose weight, then I'm saying, yeah, do it for sure. Why not?
It's actually kind of insane that we're living through this because this is a major medical breakthrough. Like, we don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen, but it is truly changing the world. The survey found that the number of Americans taking drugs like semaglutide, which include the brands Ozempic and Wegovy, or tirzepatide under the brands Zepbound and Mounjaro for weight loss more than doubled over the past year and a half. Wow, that's really fast. That's 12.4% of respondents taking the drugs compared with 5.8% in February 2024 when Gallup first measured it. The new treatments are in a class of drugs known as GLP-1 agonists.
It's so funny because it's like, yeah, obviously it doubles because you can either, if you can't beat them, join them. Like, if you have been trying to lose weight and it's not going so well because of maybe something that is your fault or something that isn't your fault, right? Most of it is your fault, but let's just say that you're so caught up with work, you just don't have time for the gym or something like that. Or you've been trying, keto diet, but you just are really craving the pizza. You go for it. That's a mix. 50% your fault, 50% not. If you can't lose weight like this, if you're having a really hard time, then why would you not just hop on Ozempic?
And this generation of very effective GLP-1 agonists were approved for obesity treatment in the US market in 2021. I mean, yeah, in a few short...
And people treat you better when you're skinny, because when you're skinny, you're generally more attractive. So that's another thing.
Yours sounds like in the past...
If you're telling someone that they can potentially improve their health and potentially get treated better in society for looking more attractive, why would they not take that? It literally is a no-brainer. Like, if you're telling me, right, if you ask somebody if there was a drug, if you asked a young man if there was a drug that if they injected once a week for 6 weeks with maybe a few potential side effects, but within the 6 weeks, they would add 3 inches to their height or cock, they would 100% take it. 100%.
Year. This has become the weight loss method in society. And I think more people than you realize are on these medications.
Oh, yeah.
I once made an entire video about this insane women's magazine, Women's World. Its whole thing was offering these absurd miracle cure crash diets to women between the age of like 45 and 75. Lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks. Detox off 1 pound a day. Burn fat like a kid again. Automatic weight loss. That was like their whole thing. Every single week, the cover was a new advertisement for a miracle weight loss cure. So you're standing at the grocery store checkout, minding your own business, while Women's World is trying to convince your mom, your grandma, your aunt that they have the miracle solution for weight loss. And I don't know how many years Women's World was doing this for in total, but I'm going to say something like 20 years straight. But now, you know what's crazy? Now, look at this. These are the most recent issues of Women's World magazine.
Let's see.
Okay? Most of them don't even mention weight loss at all. If they do, it's in like a little tiny little blip there. This used to be the cover story every week for 20 years. Now they barely even mention it. Women's World, as far as I can tell, had to change their entire business model because their target demographic is on Ozempic now.
Yeah.
They don't believe in miracle cures anymore because there's an actual drug that actually helps with weight loss now. Speaking of magazines, I have a quick announcement. I'm so excited to see you there. Back to the video. Also, I'm using Ozempic interchangeably with GLP-1s because I feel like Ozempic is still the cultural
It's like, yeah, I mean, sure. Sure.
to refer to it, even though
Yeah.
it's not really totally appropriate. But yeah, I have
lot of
an
other-
immediate
a lot of
family
other
member on them,
kinds.
so I've got to witness firsthand how they actually work or what they actually do. It is pretty wild. Like, this person is no longer really hungry. They're no longer craving things quite the way they used to, and they're actually grappling with the fact that eating used to take up such a big part of their lives and they enjoyed it so much, but now they can't really do it the same way, and they just don't enjoy it the way they used to. It is really interesting to me because, I mean, obviously we talk a lot about behavior change on this channel as well. In this case, it's like the medication is changing your behavior for you. Now,
I would tell you that the reality is if our government just banned ultra-processed foods and made it so that our diet wasn't killing us, we wouldn't even need this in the first place. I would argue a lot of the obesity that's been caused on Americans is largely due to what we're eating. And what we're eating is, most of the time, I think, out of our control. Like, yes, at the end of the day, you are putting the fork to your mouth or the burger to your mouth, but the burger that you're putting to your mouth that's being served by the McDonald's near your house, the government is deciding what they're allowed to use as a patty, what they're allowed to use as sauce, what they're allowed to use as buns. And that is all out of your control. Like, think about it like this. If you went to McDonald's in the 70s because it was near your house and you ate a burger every day, you would not be nearly as fat as you would be now from doing the same exact thing. That's what I say. That's what I mean when I say it's out of your control. So at the end of the day, I do think that Ozempic, reducing obesity and improving people's lives is, well, I mean, it's just that it's an improvement. So I think improvements are good. I unfortunately think people have to resort to this because of a lot of decisions that have been made by the government that affect the way they're allowed to eat food and what they're consuming.
I realize everything I'm saying, I sound so complimentary. Like, it sounds like I'm just giving them so many compliments. This video is not me repping them. I don't want it to come off like that. I'm just very curious and interested in the topic, and it's such a huge topic that I feel like I need to cover it, especially when the obesity rate is suddenly going down. I mean, I feel like at that point I have to say something, and my opinion is just, it's generally quite positive at this point. And like I said, as someone who spent their entire life obese and is very interested in health and science, to see something happen like this in our lifetime is actually kind of crazy. And it's interesting to think about how this is going to change the world, because it is going to change the world. It's already changing the world in many good ways and some bad. GLP-1s, which act on the brain and body's hormones to help suppress hunger and slow digestion, are considered a watershed in America's long struggle to address obesity and related diseases. These diseases have persistently and stubbornly increased through the decades through various dietary trends and public health interventions. Indeed, this index, which asked respondents, "Has a doctor or nurse ever told you that you have diabetes?" found a highest ever rate of diabetes at 13.8%.
Jesus.
See, and that's a very important thing that needs to be mentioned too, though, okay? Diabetes is through the roof. Why? Where does that come from? Well, if we're talking about type 2 diabetes anyway, this is what's called a diet-related disease. As in, what you eat majorly impacts your risk of getting it. Other diet-related diseases are...
I saw some stat where it's like more people now than ever are like pre-diabetic, which is terrifying.
Obesity, obviously, cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, certain cancers. So one potentially quite bad thing about these medications that definitely has to be mentioned is the fact that many people will now lose weight on them without actually changing their diet. That is not good. Maybe that sounds like the dream to someone listening to this.
Yeah, it's like basically solving the problem, or no, solving a symptom without addressing the root cause, right? You can basically mask people's hunger, but what they're hungry for is still there, and the amount that they will eat will go back to normal when they get off Ozempic. That's what keeps them on the Ozempic cycle.
But it's not,
because they are relying on this thing. I think at the end of the day, if you can rely on yourself to make good eating decisions and to promote physical fitness in your life, that is far more reliable than Ozempic is. Because if you, at the end of the day, are the master of your own destiny, that's like infinitely better than having to rely on a substance to modify your behavior, when you can just modify your own behavior, and train yourself to behave a certain way. Doesn't the government regulate the nutritional values of McDonald's, Burger King, and any fast food places? They do, but they don't do it well, and they haven't done it well, which is proof, and the proof of this is shown in all sorts of statistics regarding American health. If they were doing a good job, we wouldn't need Ozempic.
Because now we'll have a bunch of people who are thinner, have lost weight, they're not in as much danger from obesity, but they're still consuming this stuff and they're still living the lifestyle that led to them being unhealthy in the first place. And we don't really know what the potential implications of that are or what that might look like in the future. So we could end up in a world where we have a lot of skinnier people who are really, really unhealthy and unhealthy in new ways because they didn't make the lifestyle changes that they needed to. Here's the thing. We all got to pay the piper, okay? We cannot eat like shit and not exercise. It's just, if you want to live a good life, you got to do those two things. It's just a fact. When you're younger, you can get away with a lot. As you age, you can get away with less and less and less. I used to just want to be skinny when I was younger. I could not give a about my health. I just wanted to not be fat. But then at some point, after some soul searching, I realized, okay, I'm going to actually have to be healthy, aren't I? I'm going to actually have to commit to exercise forever, aren't I? And once you get to that point, you just start looking at things so much differently. Yeah, I feel like health at the individual level, at like the level of you and I, it's all behavior. And what I mean by that is we can't help if we're like genetically predisposed to certain diseases. You can't help if your mom drank alcohol and smoked cigarettes while she was pregnant with you. All that stuff has been set in the stars already, okay? It's done. But we can change our behavior. We can eat real food. We can exercise. We can get sleep. We can have healthy social connections. Do those 4 things, small things, and you're basically crushing it. Health.
She's 100% right. At the end of the day, even if you may be more genetically likely to get diabetes or heart disease, you have to act the same way that you would without knowing that information, which is to eat well, to exercise, and to, maintain healthy habits, right? Like, let's say I know, like, okay, yeah, I'm more prone to obesity, and that just isn't fair, right? Nothing's fair, and, just based on that, it's not even worth trying because I'll have to put in more effort than the guy who can eat like shit and still be skinny. You can either complain about things that you can't control, or you can do what you can control, which is your own behavior, right? And I'm a big advocate of this. At the end of the day, even if you are more likely to be obese genetically, it is still a choice. It is tougher. It's a tougher choice to live through, but you still have that choice at your disposal. I believe in free will. I believe that you have opportunities and options at your disposal that you can take advantage of. And obviously a lot of things are predestined, but I don't believe that you don't have the ability to decide things for yourself, which I think a lot of the fat activist movement rejects. I think they reject one's own ability to say no to fries on the side. I think they reject one's ability to say no to getting a double cheeseburger instead of a salad. Like, these are all things I believe people have the capacity to do and decide, and I think they should and are able to make these decisions on a regular basis to the point where habits are formed. These are all like the most important decisions you can make because they contribute to your health and by extension, how long you'll live.
Twice. But anyway, I do think that as a counterpoint to the people who like lose weight but stay behaviorally unhealthy, I think there are going to be a lot of people who use the drug to motivate a truly healthy lifestyle. I think just
that's
seeing
true.
That physical
that is
progress.
Also true. Like I completely agree with her here. I think a lot of people who will use Ozempic and they will see like a 5 to 10% improvement in like their slimness or their like weight loss, they will now see what is possible, and seeing that in the mirror, seeing that in themselves, I think will act as motivation to say no to things like I said before, like fries or things that are unhealthy. So she's completely right. I think it'll be a positive enforcement mechanism where if you can literally see the progress you're making from Ozempic, that should like incentivize you to do other healthy things. Because a lot of people, they just get morbidly obese and they can't see any way out, and just knowing what they look like, just they already think it's over, right? It is a negative feedback loop. It is a negative reinforcement cycle where they see that they're fat, they feel like a fat ass, they eat like a fat ass, they look like a fat ass, they feel like a fat ass, and it continues forever. Whereas if you eventually hop on Ozempic and you see these improvements, those improvements will be the fuel you need to continue along with other healthy decisions. But more so, I think it just influences them to take more Ozempic. Well, yeah, but I also think that it could, let's think about it like this, okay? If I became fat and I felt like shit about it, I'm just speaking for myself. If I hopped on Ozempic and slowly lost weight, I would see that I could go back to my prime and I would act accordingly. I think people, when they know they look a certain way, behave a certain way. And that's a very true fact of life. People who are skinny and they like the way they look will do skinny things. People who are fat and they know they're fat do fat things. Like, this is, I think, a true fact of life.
And being lighter is going to give thousands, if not millions of people the energy and excitement to really pursue
That's valid. Maybe they needed Ozempic to realize it's possible. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
a truly healthy lifestyle. Progress is the most motivating thing in the world.
Exactly.
And I just think
exactly. She's totally correct. Yes, 100%. So another example of this, I think, is with money. I'm self-employed, and knowing how much money I could be making from YouTube and live streaming motivates me to continue because I have made certain amounts before and I hold myself to that standard. If I saw how hot I could get from Ozempic, I would hold myself to the standards that are conducive to that hotness.
that the drug is going to spark lots of healthy lifestyles that would not have happened
I think she's totally
and if
right.
most people who take the GLP-1s do this, then it just really is so crazy to think about what the world will be like in 10, 20, 30 years time. Like we might actually live in a considerably healthier world for the first time in I don't even know how long. I mean, the food companies are already quaking. I covered a story last year about how the food industry is already in this like mad dash to develop GLP-1 friendly food products. And they're literally already working behind the scenes to try to bypass some of the GLP-1 mechanisms because their whole thing is they make money by us
addicting you.
So
Holy fuck. Dude, it's a PvP. Ozempic is about to get patched by Doritos. They're finding a way to get around the no way. So Ozempic is making you not want to eat this dog shit. And the dog shit makers are like, well, we have to change that. Let's find a way to get around the signals that Ozempic is saying to not eat this. That's terrible.
if we're not eating more, then they're not making the same kind of money that they want to be making. That's why in this video we talked about they're moving over to places like Nigeria. Ozempic could crush the junk food industry, but it is fighting back. As revolutionary new weight loss drugs turn consumers off ultra-processed foods, the industry is on the hunt for new products.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see where.
Why couldn't they also just say we're going to be healthier? Instead of trying to find a way around the antagonists of the GLP-1 receptor, they could just make healthier food that people wouldn't feel like shit when they eat.
Where that goes. The battle of big food and big pharma. Who will win? The survey is one indication that obesity rates may be starting to change, albeit slowly. Yeah, something I should have said earlier is that this doesn't guarantee that anything has actually happened yet. It doesn't guarantee that it's from the GLP-1s. Who knows? It could just be a blip.
Oh, it definitely is.
Kind of looks like it's from the GLP-1s. Since the drugs have come on the market,
if you're telling me their market value is $570 billion, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, it's from them.
declines in obesity rates have been higher among those between ages 40 and 64, correlating with a higher reliance on GLP-1 medications for that age group. Use of the medications is highest among those ages 50 to 64, for example. And in that cohort, obesity rates dropped 5.0 points to 42.8%. Similarly, the survey found more women take the drugs, with corresponding greater weight loss compared with men too. Okay, first off, literally Women's World target demographic shown here to be largely using GLP-1s. These drugs have been a game changer for patients with obesity, but access to the drugs is still limited. Access is poised to become a bigger issue, says Dr. Fatima Cody Stanford, a Harvard University obesity specialist. I would say this correlation happened for those that had great coverage, but it's going to be pulled back, she says, noting that many private insurers, including the ones that cover most of her patients, are stopping coverage of GLP-1 medications as of next year. Without coverage, Stanford says injections will typically cost patients about $500 a month out of pocket. And while drug makers are working to bring potentially less expensive pill versions to market, for example, she says it likely still will put the treatments out of reach for many. Now, the drug companies are
Dude, that's kind of funny because if you realize that there's a relationship with low income like earners and high obesity rates, you'll realize how fucked this is. Because if you're broke and you can afford cheap fast food that's making you fat, like that's pretty fucked that now you're going to have to basically not rely on insurance covering your Ozempic because it is a health thing. It's not like just some unnecessary thing. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are doing it for losing weight they don't have to lose. But I think in this instance, a lot of people who are obese not getting access to it is not good. Have you heard the rebrand for hot Cheetos? No more Red 40, but they added some other chemicals in it. No, I didn't. I don't eat hot Cheetos, actually. I think they're disgusting. The only sort of like spicy snack that I like, I kind of like Takis. They're a little too spicy for me, but like very light spice. That's fine. That's all I can handle though.
She says it likely still will put the treatments out of reach for many. Now, the drug companies are pushing very, very, very hard for this to be covered by insurance. And I kind of think it will end up happening, but there are definitely
I could see that.
Maybe a few years where rich people get Ozempic and
White guy reportedly says Takis are too spicy. Well, I actually don't have that sensitive when it comes to spice. They're a little too spicy for me, okay? I'm gonna get flamed so hard for this in the comments. I think my spice levels are not terrible.
poor people get body positivity, to quote South Park.
Insurance companies only cover the medication for diabetes, not for weight loss.
There has to be something you can do.
I'm gonna write you a prescription for Lizzo.
Lizzo?
She's a
The
really
hell
good
is
singer
this?
who talks about body positivity and just being happy with the way you look.
Huh.
And I'm afraid you'll have to be on Lizzo for the rest of your life.
No!
That's
Lizzo,
funny.
no!
Which, I mean, it brings me to a really important thing that needs to be
Lizzo,
said here.
no.
You don't need a GLP-1 to lose weight. I keep hearing disturbing rhetoric implying that everyone needs a GLP-1 to lose weight. A lot of the time, it's the drug companies themselves that are implying this, which is a whole thing I'll talk about another time. But I also hear it a lot from like social media Ozempic influencers. I see so many clips of women who've lost a ton.
Yeah, I think a lot of women are also lying about this. Like, they'll say they tried everything and Ozempic is the only thing that worked. Like, bitch, no, you didn't. That's not honest at all. And a lot of these women aren't even getting paid by Ozempic to say things like that. They are just trying to make it sound like they really put in all the effort they could and nothing came of it. They feel guilty because they didn't really try that hard. Ozempic came out. They're like, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's lose this weight. And it worked. And now they're like, wow, it was that easy. And they feel bad for it being so easy for them, while a lot of other people have tried for years to lose weight, to maybe some success, to maybe a lot of success, but not as quick and as easy and as guaranteed as Ozempic level success. And so they have to lie and say, well, I did everything. I did keto, I did paleo diet, I've been walking up the Stairmaster every single day, and I'll tell you, nothing's come even close to the effectiveness of Ozempic. And it's like, yeah, bitch, but you're just lying. You haven't done all that shit. Cap.
Of weight on this drug, turn around and then act like it was physically impossible for them to lose weight without it. The implication is always
literally.
that, something was wrong with their body and that like,
Dude, I also hate this where women, it's really just women, who are saying like they had some other comorbidity to make it so that they needed Ozempic, but they're just lying about it. They'll say they had some like rare genetic proclivity or disease, and so I actually needed it. It wasn't just for the aesthetics. Bitch, it was. Like, it was, dude. If you're like 20 pounds overweight, that's not obese. That's really nothing. And you need to well, I guess it depends how big you are, to be fair. It depends on like how like your height is. Cause like for me, like I'm probably like 215 pounds right now, but I'm literally 6'6". So that's probably in like the fine weight range. Maybe I should lose a few. I don't know. But well, maybe if I had more muscle, it'd be fine. And whatever. Okay. Quit drinking. Sure. All these things are true. But the reality is like, it's a lot of people who are just a little tiny bit chubby because of eating, freshman 15, dietary stuff, who don't want to have to change the way they're eating. They notice they've gotten a little bigger. They've kind of ballooned up a little bit. They're not morbidly obese. They don't have any risk of death. They just want the aesthetic benefit. And they feel bad because it makes them sound vain when it's funny because men are just honest about this. They're like, yeah, I want to be a Chad. I want to looks max. I want to ascend. Women have to lie about it. Okay. They have to gaslight everybody into saying, yes, we had some real problem that had to be solved, not just the aesthetic desire. Yeah. No accountability.
the food noise that they had was not natural. And I just don't believe that to be true. I think there's always been this narrative that like weight loss is impossible, and now even more than ever. But I think if anything, this drug really just shows if you eat less, you'll lose weight. That is how it makes you lose weight. You eat less, right?
Yeah.
Like it helps do the things that help you eat less,
Appetite
of course, in a
suppression.
major way. But all it is eating less. People have been losing weight naturally forever. It's very, very, very possible. So like if you're someone who's in this situation where you want to lose weight and you feel like now more than ever it's impossible, it's just not true. And even if GLP-1s were free, not everyone can take this drug. Not everyone wants to take this drug. Not everyone should take this drug, right? There are some serious side effects on there that prohibit quite a few people from taking it. So yeah, never lose hope. If you want to change, you can change. So yeah, I just hate that narrative. Whenever I see it, it makes me mad. But yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this thing because this is a major development in the obesity world. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will
What the hell is this thumbnail? Check your DMs, baddie. Okay. Maybe, yeah, we're just not going to watch that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really agree with what she said at the very end. I mean, she basically said that if you think it's harder now than ever to lose weight without a GLP-1, then you're wrong. But she has also made a bunch of videos about how all the food we eat is poison. So if you're not using a GLP-1 and you're trying to lose weight, you basically have to navigate against all of the crap they're putting in our food now, which is something you never had to do, I would say, in previous decades, right? Like if in the 80s or 90s you wanted to lose weight, you wouldn't have to be battling like the advertising machine of McDonald's or Starbucks or all of these things. And I think that's a major disadvantage to people now, right? They're literally up against like the fact that these fast food restaurants are everywhere. They are actively advertising to you, trying to get you in the door, points systems that they have to get you free stuff. Like it's not easy, I would say. So you do have to do it, but I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy. But yeah, good video. Regardless, very good. I like this girl's channel a lot. Kiana Doherty, big fan of hers. Show some love. Tell her Acheeto sent you if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to leave a like. And if you didn't, leave a dislike. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Goodbye.